Hello everyone, another 12-hour build challenge starts today, right now. Last week, adventurers won the poll pretty comfortably ahead of Exaforce and Classic Space. A few of them were close, but adventurers won all of them, so I'm not going to get in the way of democracy here. Adventurers is one of those themes that covers a bunch of different things. You could go Orient Expedition, you could go Dino Island, you could go jungle, you could go desert. There's a lot of different directions we could take this. But I think that it's been a while since I did any jungle-themed creations. And one of my favorite builds I've ever done was way back when I made the Temple of the Twin Jaguars. It was a really fun build for its time, but I think that I could do actually much better given that I have a lot more pieces and a little bit more building experience. So I'm kind of thinking I almost want to remake something in that genre, so Jungle Ancient Ruins. And of course, as the video title suggests, I'm giving myself 12 hours to complete this MOC. It is now 4 minutes past 10 according to my watch, so we have till 10 o'clock this evening in order to accomplish this creation. Without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get to sketching. Last week, we were pretty ambitious and tried to make a whole Roman city or town in one day. It wasn't really feasible. We got the temple done, which was nice. But the week before that, we made a nice little ambush scene, and I think we could have done more with the time that we had. So maybe didn't do quite as much as we could have done. So we need to find that happy medium, that balance between the two opposites there, and I think we can do it. I think one way that can be easily accomplished is by starting with the terrain first, so making a landscape to a certain size only, and then we'll be able to move on from there. So in other words, if we give ourselves a size limit at the start, it'll work better, hopefully. And these jungle ruins aren't going to be based on any specific culture, but they're going to be, taking inspiration from all sorts of cultures from jungle areas. So you could see some, of course, South America, you got some Asia, Southeast Asia, some things like that inspiring this ruin. Basically, it should make sense wherever in the world you can imagine them being. All right, this is kind of what I'm thinking here. Got a couple concepts. Irregular landscape, a little bigger than the ambush scene, but not too much bigger. Definitely want this more of a facade versus a too deep of a structure like the ancient temple we did last week. So kind of balance between the two. I'm gonna have stairs going up to the left where we'll have a little platform slash building with some pillars and a roof. I'm hoping to make some animal face statues. I'm thinking possibly an alligator or a lizard. Got a couple on the top, maybe one fallen down. So the nice thing about ruins is if you are building a structure, it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical because it's in ruins. You could have pieces that are different colors or pieces that are missing completely and broken down. So it makes it easier to accomplish a building than if you were to try and do it perfectly nice, everything balanced symmetrical. So it'll actually be much easier to do than the ancient Roman temple we did last week. On the right, a little bit of a kind of a tower, perhaps, a little structure. And every surface should be very detailed, not only with just plants growing over everything, but also the surface of the stonework itself should be very textured, should have a lot of, looks like intricately carved, should be pretty interesting. Lots of palm trees up on the top, probably a couple of regular trees and jungle trees as well. So lots of plants all over. It should be very green. In previous ruin scenes, I've usually used light gray, which is a pretty accurate color, but it is a little bit bland. I think this time I'm gonna go for tan, mostly. Maybe some dark tan, maybe even some colored pieces to represent painted stone or some other type of stone that's been imported into the area in the past. So I would love to see some teal highlights. I'll see if I can sneak them in there. Might make sense, might not, But I think this is a good place to start from. Hopefully we don't get too ambitious or do too small a scene. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we've started with just setting out some regular Lego base plates. You got various sizes here. I like to use smaller ones for medium-sized creations, gives you a little bit more flexibility. Matching more the shape of our initial sketch, we got some different undulations here. This will not be the finished landscape, of course. We're going to cover this with regular green plates. I'm not going to use wedges like I normally would or rounded plates because those give you less opportunities to snap pieces down. I'm going to use basically regular square plates, and that gives you the most amount of surface area that you can securely attach plants to. We want this covered with plants. So it's going to be a little bit more simple looking on the bottom, but it will give us more texture when we put those plants down. That's the theory behind the landscape here. I'm going to go attach those green plates and kind of cut corners or smooth out the edges so it's not so square. You'll see in just a moment. 40 minutes in, and we have a very nice landscape base to build off of. It's very simple, but I think it'll work perfectly. It's nice and strong, has those base plates underneath. And this is what I was talking about as far as no wedge plates. I was able to still sneak in one or two here and there, but overall, there's a lot more straight edges for little plants and pieces to be stuck in there, so it should be very detailed once it's done, especially on the lower areas where there should be a lot of plants in a rainforest or a jungle. Already, I'm thinking of some compositional changes to help change this build up a little bit. Supposed to have like a little tower or obelisk over on the far right. I now kind of want to move that to the back corner where there's a little more space. So we're going to have the stairway leading up here, building right here, kind of obelisk building in the back, and maybe like a little statue or something here with some trees behind it. Something smaller but detailed right here in this area to help kind of catch that attention. Already thinking of a few little changes, but hopefully this space contains us to a reasonable build today, and I don't get too ambitious and try to build Rome in a day. All right, we are about an hour in. It's now just a little past 11 a.m. and we have a nice landscape starting to form here. We've added a bit of stairs, kind of blended into the terrain, lots of green, and even some olive green mixed in there too. Normally, I don't try to mix olive green and regular green because I don't think that's a good color combo. I think the tan really saves this whole combination though. I think it's actually working. We'll see if it lasts. Over here, you can see the areas where I'm planning on putting a few more structures, some sort of little statue or obelisk here, and sort of like a tower obelisk back in the back here with a little point. Almost, I'm thinking kind of lighthouse-esque, but with more, texture and relief going on. This is about as high as I want the stairs before I'm going to cap it off and have a little structure on top. Should be pretty easy to do so. Building up the terrain on the side, make it look like it's semi-buried or grown over. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. In the middle, I'm actually thinking of putting a few kind of stones and pieces that are kind of strewn about. That's what I've seen from a lot of ruins, that there's just pieces everywhere. So I'm going to have that for the adventurers to kind of hop on over to the main structure, over all the plant and lush undergrowth down here. Liking it so far. Let's keep going. Gonna keep going till lunch break and see what happens. So we are about 2 hours and about 20 minutes into the build, and I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. This is looking like an ancient ruined temple here. You got a plateau up here, got some cool column pillar things going on here. Foundations laid for a big obelisk tower in the back. A few little pieces of stone strewn about so far. Loving how this is very beat up looking. It's very integrated into the terrain. Once plants are added, this is going to be insane. Going to be establishing a roof up here as well as some more sculptural elements up on the top here. And this side should be pretty much done with the exception of a few trees over here on the left, hopefully. So far, I feel like we're doing pretty good with our pace right now. This is going together much faster than the ancient temple, but it's still going to be more substantial than the medieval forest ambush. So liking where it's going so far. While working on this corner tower away from the main structure, I was trying to do some panels on the sides for some detail. I was going for a geometric design at first, but then as I was building, I realized that it looks kind of like a pair of eyes, especially if you give it a nose. There we go. And now it looks like a kind of spooky looking face. I really like that it's looking back at you kind of thing. So unfortunately, that doesn't quite work on the side of the tower, so I'm probably going to stick it right up here. And I have a big face in between the different layers of the main building, looking out at the adventurers as they come up. And given this new bombastic style, I also went for some kind of tribal looking panels to go on the side, which I can install now. There's one. And there's two. There we go. Extremely detailed, and you can just see a sort of a creepy face looking back at you. I like it. We'll get this installed up on the top, and we're starting to look like some cool ancient ruins here. And the time update, it is now a little after 2, so 4 hours so far. Not bad at all. All right, we're back with another update. We've attached the big head to the top of the temple. Unfortunately, I think it's too big. I think it's distracting from the composition. It's too large. It's going to make this building too tall for what I want to do. Make it too upright. I do like it. I think it looks cool, but I don't think it looks great in the context of this build. I also think it would make the structure, the volume, amount of stuff to do bigger. I kind of want to start reducing things, make this a little bit smaller, finish some trees, get some figures made. So I'm going to nix the face, but I'm going to probably keep this bottom row of teeth because I think it looks kind of cool, and then just kind of expand upon that and kind of tier its way up. So different layers, getting smaller and smaller as it goes higher up. I think it was a noble attempt, but not going to quite work out for what we're doing. This side, however, I'm really happy with this. You still got these kind of figures in here happening, these faces. You got another chunk or two up here, and it should be good to go. And then something down here. Maybe I can make some sort of face, like sculpture here instead. We'll see. I can at least use some of those pieces, perhaps. But that's where we're at right now. It is almost 3 o'clock, so still got plenty of time. I want to be wrapping up sooner rather than later, though, so let's get to it. Okay, we have another update on the ancient ruins. We've got these kind of alligator, dragon, snake statues up here. They're pretty subtle, so they don't distract from the overall shape of the building, which I like. Just kind of capped off the top to keep it simple. I'm running out of steam, so I'm going to try and round this off as easily as possible. Little chunk up here to make sure that's not just a square chunk right there. Break it up a little bit, add more tiers to the whole scene. Down here, this is a fun little guy. I was working on this and just had a little platform here, and my brother walks in and I'm like, man, I just need to put a little statue or something here. It's like, well, you could do this. And he just basically whips it up out of nowhere and just slaps it on there. I'm like, you know what? That works just fine. Little monkey statue, just random. These people probably worshipped monkeys and alligators. That's the synopsis here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the scene overall. Like some of the details. I would say this is a little more detailed than some of these areas, but it's okay. I'll leave it. I'll bury it in some foliage. That's what we're doing next is plants. Gonna be putting some palm trees and some other kind of jungle trees around the scene, and then covering this thing in weeds and plants and vines and all sorts of stuff, some flowers here and there. Steven also suggested that I put a little treasure here, maybe even like the Ark of the Covenant or a treasure chest. I think a treasure chest would be just like funny, too obvious. It's a trap, right? It's gotta be. Almost there, running out of steam, but the scene is going great. It's about 4:40, so not too late in the day. Should get some figures put in, some foliage, and take some photos. Wow, this build is really starting to turn into something. I'm loving all the foliage that's been placed around the build. You've got trees, like a bunch of palm trees. You got these slightly smaller jungle-looking trees. I had a bag of these newer Friends leaf pieces that look really fun in the scene. You also got some kind of undergrowth, some brush. You got ferns down there. We're going to be adding a ton more smaller pieces like grass and leaves on the bottom. So this whole thing will be covered in plants. It should look pretty exotic. Steven suggested that I add some more color, so flowers, that sort of thing, maybe a few parrots up on the top as well. So more things to be added for sure. Want to add a little treasure in there, like I've said before, a couple characters walking through, going to get those minifigures built soon. This build is really starting to materialize though, so I'm very excited about that. Hello everyone, we are looking at a completed build. It is now 9 o'clock, and the reason it's so late is because I already took pictures and everything was great, but all the colored flowers we had throughout the scene did not look good, so taking them out, I actually really like the simplicity of just the greens and tans and the few adventurer characters. I think it looks a lot better. Also got the lighting slightly improved, added some warm lighting from behind. I think it really gives it kind of a nice outdoor glow. So yeah, really happy with this build, and went the extra mile as far as photography goes to make sure it looked at its best. You've got Johnny Thunder leading a couple of the Pharaoh's Quest rookies on an adventure. You've got the monkey statue over on the right. You've got a bunch of trees and palm trees looking really good. You've got that kind of tower building in the back. You've got the kind of alligator serpent heads on top of this temple building thing. And inside you've got the golden frog, the ultimate treasure. Yeah, a lot to like about this build. Big fan of adventurers, love making ancient ruins, and this scene turned out pretty much exactly as I wanted. I did use pretty much all of my time. I think 10 o'clock would have been the timer, so pretty happy with using the entire day. However, I'm blasted. This is quite the challenge. But there's a very good chance I'll be doing this again next week, so I'll be dropping another poll on the weekend. Let me know in the comments what themes you want me to build next. Could be anything. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.